Hey, we made it to day 5. Welcome to Teacher's Aid training. I am Sarah Barnett and I am so excited to share what we are learning about today. If you missed yesterday's training on the student learning profiles and the number one question that you should be asking your parents at the beginning of the year, make sure you go back and watch it because I showed you some incredible frameworks for creating positive classroom cultures. Well, today it is all about differentiation and assessments. And I am going to show you 3 more frameworks today. We are going to learn how to teach every student without teaching a different lesson for everyone. Yes, this is 3-tiered differentiation. Then I'm going to show you the game-changing way that I used AI to offer more choices with less work, differentiating activities and assessments. Finally, I'll show you how to take back your time from grading and still keep it meaningful. Let's jump right into it. First of all, what is 3-tiered differentiation? 3-tiered differentiation is a way of meeting students where they are. Tier 1 is for students who are on grade level. This is the whole classroom. Tier 2 is for students who need a little extra support. This might be the 20% of students, and it would also include small group practice. Tier 3 is for students who need more intensive help. This is usually a smaller group or one-to-one. Students in Tier 2 still receive Tier 1 instruction, and students in Tier 3 still receive instruction from Tiers 1 and 2. Your Tier 3 students might also be students who have IEPs, 504s, or they might be in an MTSS process of getting that IEP or 504. So who is 3-tiered differentiation for? It is for every student in your classroom. It's designed to support kids who are struggling or challenging those who are ready for more. Yes, your gifted students can also be in a Tier 3, and it keeps your on-level students moving forward at the same time. So whether you are teaching a mixed ability group, students with IEPs, ELLs, or high flyers, this model can actually help you reach all of them. So here's a framework for how I create Tier 3 differentiation for any assignment. You are going to start by telling ChatGPT you are an expert special interventionist. Then you're going to give it examples. This can include articles about 3-tiered instruction, student data, worksheets, lesson plans, etc. Then you're going to ask, is there anything else that you need to know from me? Answer any questions that it might have for you, and then get specific. You can say something like, please make this a 3-tiered lesson. Please include the same materials. Write the lesson plan in an Excel file, and please give more details in Tiers 2 and 3. Bonus, help me revise this Tier 1 lesson plan into a universal design learning plan. This way, you have a more inclusive Tier 1 lesson plan. So now that you know how to dive deeper into the lesson and reach all of your students, now I'm going to show you how you can differentiate. Now, there are 4 different ways that you can differentiate. The first way is through your environment, and you can literally snap a picture of your classroom and say, okay, how can I differentiate the environment in my classroom? And ChatGPT will give you suggestions based on the pictures that it reads from your classroom. You can also differentiate through content. Content is what the students learn. This is the actual material or skill being taught. Differentiating content might mean giving students reading texts at different levels, modified assignments with more visual support, or vocabulary word banks or sentence stems. All students are working towards the same standard, but the way they access the content is adapted to their readiness level or language needs. For example, in a lesson on animal adaptations, one student reads a short nonfiction passage, and another one watches a short video, and another one reads a more complex article. They're all learning about adaptations, but in different ways. Process is how students learn it. This is about the learning activities or strategies students use to make sense of the content. Differentiating process might look like using hands-on materials like manipulatives or science models. It could include grouping students for peer discussion or providing graphic organizers. It could also be giving students a choice in how they explore the concept through drawing, acting out, or solving a puzzle. Some examples for learning about fractions might include using fraction tiles or cutting fruit into parts or solving word problems. They could even watch a tutorial and create a diagram. It's the same concept, fractions, but it's just different processes for learning it. You can think of content as the ingredients you would use to bake cookies, and think of the process as the way that you're going to bake those cookies. Different learners may need different ingredients or a different way to cook the cookies so that the knowledge sticks. Finally, the fourth way to differentiate is through assessment. This is how students show what they know. Differentiating assessments might mean offering a choice in a product, so they could write, they could draw, explain, act, record. It could also be having different sentence starters or scaffolds for students who need support. It could be an extra challenge for students who are ready to extend their thinking. It could be checklists, visuals, or models to clarify expectations. And it could also be oral responses or guided prompts instead of written-only options. All students are working towards the same learning target, but the way they show mastery is adapted to match their needs and strengths. Let's say you're assessing students on how well they understand the main idea and details from an informational passage. One student highlights the main idea and draws two supporting images. Another writes a paragraph using sentence stems and text evidence. A third could create a short video explaining the main idea and backing it up with 3 details from the text. They all hit the same standard, but they take different paths to get there. Now that you know the 4 ways that we can differentiate, let's talk about our multiple intelligences. We all have different geniuses, and that's why I love to give my students choices. By giving your students choices, you not only increase interest, but you increase the motivation as well. And those are the 2 keys of having high engagement in your classroom. So how the heck do you give your students choices? Well, let me tell you, editable choice board menus are my jam. You can differentiate each one of these by using different multiple intelligences and depth of knowledge. I use these editable choice board menus for any subject. These are available in my TPT shop. Students are to choose from 2 to 3 choices in how they want to learn the content. This brings us to our next framework. Here's how you can offer more choices by differentiating your activities. First, you could start by saying, you are an expert curriculum designer. Then give your AI some examples of the assignments that you have, as well as the standards and depth of knowledge. You can even give articles on multiple intelligences or depth of knowledge that you have. You could ask, is there anything else that you need to know from me? And answer any questions that ChatGPT has for you. Then get specific. You can say something like, please give this to me in a bulleted list with only 1 sentence. Please make it a lesson plan. Please make it a worksheet, whatever. You can even say, please do not include an introduction or conclusion. And it will give you a variety of different ways that you can differentiate that. You can do the same thing with your procedure. Okay, but hold on a dang second. How the heck do you differentiate assessments? Look, I get it. I know that differentiating assessments takes time, but it is worth it. And you know that if something is right, why not do it? Just freaking do it. Assessments can be differentiated through presentation of knowledge. Here, you can give students a choice of 2 or 3 different options to show what they know. And then you can ask it to include a rubric so that students know the expectations for each one of the different assessments. Again, you can use the editable choice boards for any subject to differentiate these assessments. You can even ask for the rubric to be put on a Word document, and it does not have to be pretty for our students. Here's a framework for how you can differentiate by offering more choices for assessments. You can start by saying, you are an expert in universal design learning. Then give examples of the standard. Share what students should know at the end of this unit and what it is that you want them to demonstrate. You could even include articles about the depth of knowledge or multiple intelligences as you did in the previous framework. Then you can ask, is there anything else that you need to know from me? Finally, you are going to get specific with it. You can say, please give me 3 simple assessment choices for students using 3rd grade specific language or whatever your grade level is. Please include a kid-friendly rubric for each one And each assessment should be differentiated by multiple intelligences. And then once it gives it to you, you can tweak it if needed. You could also start smaller by saying, give me 10 simple assessments, and then pick the 3 that you want, and then ask for ChatGPT to create the rubric for the 3 that you wanted to pick. I can't believe that we are at our final framework for this training. But before I share, I have a confession to make. I hate grading writing. It once took me 2 weeks to get through a stack of papers, and I kept procrastinating because the pile was so dang large. I finally said, enough, I'm done, and I made a change. So instead of having students publish their writing on paper, I started having them publish their writing in a Google Doc. This allowed me to grade their papers with ease, and then they also stopped complaining that they had to write their stories by hand twice because, oh my gosh, why would Miss Barnett do that? So mean. Again, we use the plugin Read Write on Google to assist students with typing, but just be aware that only a few students need to be using this at a time and not the whole classroom. Otherwise, the microphone will pick up everything and the students will get overwhelmed with 10 other stories on their paper. Once my students finished their papers, they turned it in via Google Classroom. But here's the thing, you could also have them print their papers, and then you can scan each one of these and save it as a PDF. Now, as of this recording, ChatGPT was unable to extract the text from my students' handwritten stories. Trust me, I have tried this, and it was a very sad moment for me. But here's the framework I used once I had their typed papers. You can start by saying you are an expert 3rd grade teacher or whatever grade level with 20+ years of experience in the classroom. Then give it examples. You're going to share the rubric that you're using. You can share the standards that you're using, and then give an example of a level 4 writing and a level 3, 2, and 1 writing. And then you can share examples of your feedback. Now, I do like to have my feedback in an Excel sheet so that I can have a list prepared to share with my AI. This just sounds more like me, and it's easy for this to pull from. I'll share the link for this in the description below. Then you can ask, is there anything else that you need to know from me before we begin? Answer any questions that ChatGPT might have from you. Then you're gonna get specific. You can say, please give me the score at the start or end of the feedback. Write 3 sentences for the feedback. I do like to use what I call the sandwich approach, where I do an encouraging statement, the focusing on the negative statement, and then I like to end on a positive note. So I tell it, please start with an encouraging sentence, focus feedback on the skill with the largest deficit, only one skill, and please tell the student one positive thing about their writing. This should be written for a 3rd grade student, and it should sound like me. Then I double check and tweak if necessary. And it is that easy. So what I like to do is I get all of these responses and I just put them into a Word document, print it out, cut them apart, and I staple it to each one of their papers. This is also a great task that you can ask for a volunteer or a student helper to do in your classroom. Woo! Okay, so let's review. You just learned how to teach every student without teaching a different lesson for everyone using 3-tier differentiation. You also learned the game-changing way that I use AI to offer more choices with less work, differentiating activities and assessments. You also learned how to take back your time from grading and still keep it meaningful. Now, I'd love to know, what's something that you felt overwhelming during the school year that you're now realizing AI could simplify? Comment one way for your chance to win editable choice boards for your class. These choice boards make differentiating super duper easy and motivating. Our winner will be announced tonight at 8 p.m. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. I hope that this training leaves you feeling inspired and ready to get to know your scholars and their families. Now, consider yourself a ChatGPT expert, and you, my friend, have earned an A+. Congratulations, and thank you so much. I'll see you soon.